Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. So yesterday we were working a little bit on deck plans, and I think I'm going to continue working the first hour today on this. Remember that at 11 o'clock I'm going to be working with Raphael, and he and I are going to do all kinds of interesting things together, like discuss whether we did all of our work this week. Anyway, so I'm working over here on my deck plans for the Kittiwake. Good morning, Brent. The Kittiwake is the hero ship for my story, and I was thinking a little bit about this last night, and I was just kind of wandering through here, and I was like, well, you're probably wondering, only missing 18 points. I don't know what that... I think you'll have to explain a little bit more about that one there, Brent. I'm not sure. 18 points. So... Oh, I know what you're talking about now. You're talking about your driving test. Good job, man. Good job. 18 points is fine. Any test you pass is a good test. Good job. Okay. Is it saying GS Guy Davis? What's it saying? It shouldn't be saying that. So last night, hey David, last night we were doing Geek Tank, and I reconfigured all of my restream so that it would be for Geek Tank. And now I'm noticing that all the buttons are all messed up over here, and I messed up everything. I'm hoping that Geek Tank will decide. Geek Tank is trying to decide what streaming service to go with. And so when they do, it'll be their login, it'll be their time. I don't have to mess with it. It's not going to be me that's going to have to worry about it. So there's that. I find it interesting that last night when I was on Geek Tank, I was like super red, and it was so weird and bizarre. And this morning, I like the fact that you're both here. Like both Brents are here. Brent's being cloned again. This morning, when I get back on here, I don't look so red and bizarre as I did last night. So, yeah, I think I explained this yesterday. The way this works is I can't get manual control over the camera in Restream. I can only get manual control over the camera in Skype. So I have to load Skype, go into manual control, adjust the thing. And by the way, I have to kill the stream in order to do that, because if I load Skype while Restream is running, Skype will say, I can't have access to your camera. So I have to kill the stream, load Skype. It's just a mess. So it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the fight. So today we are working on the Kittiwake's deck plans. Now, it may seem like a weird thing for me to be working on deck plans for the ship when why would I go through so much detail on the ship? And the reason actually is for twofold. One, as I start to build out the design of the ship and look at what the ship looks like on the inside, I can get a feel of the space that we're talking about when we're on board the Kittiwake. The story takes place in a world where they have a city to wander around in, and they only go out on the Kittiwake like for 1 month cruises at a time or something like that. So they don't need a ton of space. They don't need to have a whole bunch of room dedicated to them. All they need is just enough space for them to eat and sleep and go to the bathroom and do all of the normal things that you have to do for about 30 days tops. And then the Kittiwake comes back and then docks back on the Polaris, and they are back in the city where they've got a huge city to roam around, and the city is where all the stuff happens and everything. Not the stories necessarily, because I think the stories are all going to take place, give or take. It's going to probably be, yeah, it's like a wolf pack. That's exactly my thought process was, just like the German wolf packs. Which is funny, when I first wrote Tamerlane, I wrote that the destroyers operated like wolf packs, which destroyers in Star Trek are markedly larger ships than the Kittiwake. But the Kittiwake's a corvette, so she's got a crew of about 15, give or take, which gives me about 5 officer cabins and 10 standard, like, multi-bunk berths. So, we got like, good morning, Matt. Good to see you. So that's sort of what we're looking at when we talk about this ship. She's not a very big ship. She's only like 4 decks total. So I'm just trying to figure out now the internal arrangement. Man, you do travel fast there, Brent. Hanging out in Belgium today? I've got a buddy from Belgium. Good morning, Jess. Good morning, Kat. Good to see both of you guys. Hey, Jess. Are you calling in from home, or where are you calling in from? So, it's good to see you, my friend. Good to see you, brother. Don't talk down to her like that. I have no idea what Jess is on to now. So Jess is heading somewhere, but that's all right. Morning, Kat. How you doing? So all of the things that I was just talking about the Kittiwake, I want to kind of get a feel of the internal space. What are we dealing with here? What's the different, how much space do we have inside there? And it's misleading because the grid on this top-down picture, here I'll share and we'll take a look at it together. There we go. So when we look at the grid on this design, the grid back here is, that's the oh, you were talking about the ship and the containment space she has. Gotcha. I follow. We look at the design here, and we've got to remember that our grid work for it is going to be, here we go. Jess has a really cool band that they work for called Audic Empire. And I actually like their music, which, is not a common thing. I'm picky about music. So anyway, I recommend, if you guys are looking for good old ATX, huh? Yes, trade interdiction is going to be, part of what I envision this ship's job is more along the lines of police work. It gives her the ability to do a lot of the classic Star Trek-esque storylines. She'll be able to deal with all of these different stories that make sense in that way. So we got to remember that this is our 2-meter box, right? That's the important part, is this part right here. I'm going to move our 2-meter box because, like I said, the lines here are misleading because these are probably more like 2 meters by 2 meters. Convoy duty, yeah, she'll have all those jobs that will But she'll also be like man, these are almost 3 meters. So these represent 3 meters by 3 meters square. One of the things that I thought was an interesting idea was this hallway right here lays sideways through the wing, right? This is an engineering access hallway. And I imagine that since the decks are going to be flat, because we've got gravity control in this story, so the decks are flat. So what I imagined was that you could come up to these hallways right here, and you would, put your back up against this wall, and then just roll over to the left. And when you do, you end up now flat on the ground, like you're laying on the ground. So then you stand up this way, and you can just walk down this hallway to the wing. Now, they've got gravity plating. They've got gravity control. Any ship that can throw a black hole in front of it would... No, Jess, I didn't actually see that. So I'll go look for it. Now that I know that you've got that out there. Because, yeah, I will. You're welcome, man. Odic Empire's cool. I hope you guys get back to touring. And yeah, I'm all about doing commission work. So if someone's looking for an anime character, I will do it for them. Hey Jess, do you have like a link that you could post in here that I could put up on the screen? Because if you do, I'll put it up on the screen, and all these guys can go look at your stuff. All about us artists, we got to stick together. That's like, otherwise we're not going anywhere, we're not making any money, not doing anything. So, all right. Oh, see, now I just did an idiotic thing by doing that. Let's not do that. Got to get paid. Okay. So, is there like a dot? There's a dot. There is a dot. One single solitary dot out here somewhere. There we go. Okay, so this is 2 meters, which I think would be the average size or average width. Average width of a hallway. Be about 2 meters. The other thing is, if we put staterooms in, the big cabins for the captain and the officer cabins in here, we kind of want to know where they end up on the hull, because when I make the outside map of this ship, I'll need to know where the windows are. The ships, here are the flight control surfaces for when it's in atmosphere. So we'll already have those guys in. That helps a lot. But yeah, so gravity goes down towards the deck right here, but it's going to go this way here, which that way, because this is going to be thin enough as is, it's a wing, and so you're not going to have a lot of space in here. There we go. I'll put that up on the screen for just a moment there for those of you guys who are looking. You guys may or may not be on the chat, but that's Jess's Odic Empire. And that's how it's spelled. AUDIC. So, and I like their band. Their band's cool. I have managed to see them live all of for 10 minutes, but then, because they usually come up here, they'll come up here to Denver every so often. And when they do, I try to go see them. But every time we've done it, it's either been really late or something's gone wrong. And it's every time. And it's just been really weird timing. That's all right. He comes up here a lot. So it works. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and bring that back down. Alrighty. So now we're going to talk a little bit about hallways through here. And I feel like I'm going to have a hallway on this main deck. I just wanted to check to make sure want to check to make sure that this is wide enough to have berths and things like that. And I feel like this is probably big enough because I want to know now if I need to rescale this ship. Time does not exist. That is true. Oh, man. Okay. So the main deck here, this conversation online is great. I love you guys. Alrighty. I feel like this is probably big enough. And they've got a good sound. I dig their sound. All right. It's kind of funny. I have a number of people who play music, but there are only like a handful of my friends that are actual bands. And that always kind of amazes me. You know, it's band work. That's what she said. Band music is a fascinating art style. And I find it just so amazing watching musicians play, which I think is, I'm sure, probably, yeah, it's probably big enough. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking she's probably a large enough spacecraft for holding this. So I was reading an article on Wikipedia about berthing, and apparently they say that you need 28 cubic meters per person on a spacecraft. So it's like 28 cubic meters is huge. That's 7 meters to a side, right? But they're talking about, of course, life support systems. Good morning, Andrew. We're working on the kitty wake today, is what we're working on. We're working on her internal arrangement. I'm trying to kind of get this figured out here. So, working on the internal arrangement of the kitty wake. Kind of looking at here. I turned off the guides for a moment there so that I could get back into this section here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in this upper deck, because this is the command deck up here, right? So we're going to turn this off and take this, and we're going to move her down to here. That's the command deck. I met 2 of them. This is one of them, though. So, to be fair, this is one of my goals. So there is that on the weekly goals. I hope did you meet your goals, Kat? Okay, so here's this, and then here, and really, the command deck is extraordinarily thin. Right, it's a very small upper deck piece. Okay. So this is this deck up here. And I'll do the machine deck. Do the machine deck at some other point. Because right now, I'm thinking that the machine deck is going to be. So let's take a look at, let's start from the top down. Let's move from the top down. So if we're, because obviously everything that's critical is going to happen on the bridge. So let's see what the bridge looks like. So the bridge, it looks like here, is 5 meters wide up at the front piece. That's kind of narrower than I thought it'd be. That's not impossible, though. And it looks like towards the end, it gets to be about 6 meters wide. Oh, that's awesome, Kat. Kat, do you want to be brought into the show? Can you do video? Do you want to be brought in at 11 o'clock? Because if you do, I can bring you in. We just, you're just and today. Andrew is working, so he's just and today. Okay, so we're going to put the crest of that protection pieces right there. Yep, a little more than 15 feet. So being 6 meters across in the back makes that bridge small-ish, but not horrible. Okay, you're at work. You can't. That's a bummer. Been awesome if you could have joined us. Now, I want to look at this. The top of this roof, though, is not very wide. Right up here, we're talking 3.5 meters, or 4.5 meters, about 4.5 meters at the top, because it slopes. So whatever we do with this bridge has got to be able to handle the slope on the roof there. So that's going to be kind of rough. This is all, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, I am trying to decide whether I want the command center to be up here on this top deck. And if so, do I want it if so, what's the size that we've got going on here? And what I'm looking at whenever we talk about this is I'm thinking about, let's get a new board out here. Right. Let's rotate the image. I'm talking about looking at the bridge as being in a shape that's, angled like this. So in a space that's more like this is, how can I have the bridge be in a space that's shaped like this? Probably so. That's probably not going to be a problem. But I've got to think about this space, right? So the bridge on these spacecraft they don't have windows on the newer Star Treks, which I don't mind the windows in the newer Star Treks, but they do have like a dome for operating tactically. And it's only a forward dome inside here, but you want to be able to stand. You want the individual to be able to stand right here, right? And be able to look at this dome in any direction and get a tactical idea. The original bridge that I had designed for this ship, though, had 2 decks. Had an upper bay where you had people sitting up here, and then a lower bay where the captain sat here, and then you had various stations here like navigation and sail control, right? And then had stairs that went like this. So maybe that's what I'll do. I mean, what if I were to put just this upper bay on the upper deck and then the lower bay below it? Then we'd be talking a little bit more. There. We're talking a little bit more space, because the construction room would then be more like this, because it's going down the sides of the kittiwake, right? On that upper deck. So it'd be more like this. It looks like a Pizza Hut. The space looking more like this, right? And this would be more like what the bridge would be built into. Hey, just being here is great, Jess. I'm happy you're here. And you can definitely do a drum solo. Anybody can do a drum solo. So, looking at the space that I'm trying to work with here, I got like through here. Like this. Have you, Jess, have you considered doing broadcasting of some sort? Have you guys done some broadcasting since we've been in this? I'm going to do this here, and let's talk a little bit more about this in a width that I can see. Otherwise, I can't see what I'm doing anymore. There we go. So, if so, highly recommend Restream, which is what I'm using right now. It allows you to broadcast to YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. And in this case, I'm broadcasting to Picardo TV, which is an artist site. Boy, I think I warped the space here. Let's not warp the space. It's probably been a little while since I've done this. So, okay. There we go. So now when we're talking about a space that's 2 decks high, sweet. Okay, good. I've been kind of worried about that. I've seen a lot of good discussion on your Onic Empire page with fans, so you've got some good interaction, which I was really pleased to see. But wanted to make sure that you were operating out there as well. I want to see your solo artist page when it comes up, so that'll be great. Okay, so, and Brent, you're right, 8 feet. That's 2.5 meters, so, which is roughly what we've got going on here. On that. So now we're looking at this space here with the upper fin. So we're up on that fin on the back of the kittiwake. So looking at this there, this gives me a little bit more room, because what I can do is up here, I can add that upper veranda point, which would then come down like this into the main bridge area as like a column. You could have a person up here and a person up here working on stations, right? And so it'd be this like column in the middle of the bridge that would go maybe outward like this, so out to the sides, and then there'd be a stairwell through here that could go up. That'd be interesting. Because even though this is a military ship, of course, it's got to be visually interesting. So we've got these almost wings on either side. And then I had a cutout through here. No, a little higher than that. So I'm going to do a cutout through here like this. Right? And this cutout then would have launch chairs in it, so that when they're in launch, they've got seating through here. And this is Captain Chang's seat. And then here would be like the flight doctor, if the doctor's on the bridge, seat. And then up here would be the forward navigation station. And right here could be the sail station for sail control. And we go back through here like this, and like this, and like this. There we go. This gives me an idea of what this space will look like. The ship generally operates under gravity drive by deploying a black hole in front of the ship. So that means that the ship is almost always in weightlessness until it has to turn on the main thrusters, which it really wouldn't do very often. The only time you'd really want to do that is anytime that you're in a place where you disrupt other traffic. So, for example, when the ship is near a dock or anything like that, deploying a black hole might be bad. It would suck other ships in. So, not a good thing. So the ship's not going to generally be. At that point in time, though, you could sound journal quarters, have everybody secured in their in seats and prepared for some kind of landing. I actually, in the original design, I'd put a head back here underneath here so that you've got accessibility to the crew to get back there. But this is going to be then curved like this to give the forward tactical dome like that. So the forward tactical dome goes through here now. That works. See, this is reasonable. Then we'd put a tactical table in the ground, or it's in the flooring here. And this table can rise up for the captain and her staff to decide and tactically do things. So you'd have sort of a person standing here. Give kind of an idea of what our sizes are here. Give kind of an idea of what's going on the bridge. This is the same process as production design for movies. We're doing the exact same thing here. I'm actually going to take this out because all it's doing is confusing me. Right? Okay. So we talk about the design of the bridge. This, I think, is where we're going to be for the bridge. And I think I like this look. This look looks fine to me. I'm happy with this. And over here and in this side wheel. So I think what we're going to do is have the bridge be on 2 different floors. And that actually makes some sense because what we can do then is put a large pressure door back here, which opens to the hallway behind it. And up here can be tactics and any kind of battle readiness would be up on this upper deck. They'd have a bird's eye view of what's going on the tactical table. They'd be able to have a great view of what's going on the forward screen. And so what we can also say is that maybe on that top deck up here, you've got, I'm just going to erase this because it's a lousy line. You've got up here, you're going to have back this way, you're going to have all of the tactical rooms and everything like that in this back hallway. So this seems like a good setup for my bridge. I'm pretty happy with this design. I think that works well. It's got an interesting centerpiece to the bridge, and it doesn't require me to do a whole lot of design work in this, but it still would be unique. You would recognize immediately that you were on the bridge of the ship. It's interesting when you do science fiction and you want to do realistic science fiction. One of the biggest problems that we all have is that realistic science fiction isn't as interesting. Like sadly, the bridge of the Rocinante on the Expanse, it suffers from that. You can't tell whether you're on the bridge or on the mid deck of the Rocinante. It's really difficult to see. There's no identifying marks because that's what a real spaceship would look like. They designed it to be a real spaceship, and that's really what it would look like. No, I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the Rocinante. I'm just saying that as an identifiable place, as a location that you can see and instantly recognize, the Enterprise's bridge is instantly recognizable. It's, got the center seat, and it's got the console in the front with a helm and navigation, and then you have all of the consoles around it. You instantly recognize it. That even when Discovery brought back Pike and the Enterprise, and now when we have Strange New Worlds, where we'll see Pike again, which, by the way, I hope you guys all saw the news that CBS announced Strange New Worlds this morning. That's the new Star Trek series that'll be coming out with Pike and Number 1 and Spock, and that'll be fun. But you want to... Yeah, the battle bridge is a mess. I like the fact that the battle bridge is so nondescript as a set that they were able to redress it as a courtroom. That makes it even funnier. If you guys are wondering, that's Measure of a Man. That's the 2nd season. But they redressed the battle bridge as a courtroom. Well, congratulations. Let me be the first. Now, the Defiance bridge is really nice, too. But same thing, right? We've got the center seat, and we've got, and all of that to some degree. This is going to be much more of a next-generation bridge. If you look at this, we've got these 3 seats sort of sitting in this alcove here. And I'll actually make this alcove just a little bit more dramatic, because I really do think it's going to kind of cut back like this. Right? So I'll have it come back a little like that. Go through here and kind of get rid of this guy here. And through there. And through here. And it's since I am doing a comic and this is a visual medium, I want to make things that are memorable as well as logical. I want you to be able to be on the bridge of this ship and go, oh, okay, I know where we are. And this alcove here, it's got, a light here and a light there or whatever. Oh, that's nice. Thanks. A light here and maybe a light there. Right? To kind of illuminate what's going on. And I'll move that chair back because the chair is probably too far forward. There we go. More like that. There we go. And so all I'm doing here is, so this of course won't be a production. This won't be the final production of this. I want to kind of make sure I've got it like this and done that part. There we go. So, yeah, I've never seen Prometheus. I keep meaning to, and then I don't. I heard some pretty lousy reviews from it right off the bat, and it turned me off of it really quickly, and now I'm kind of like, I should have seen it. Should have gone and seen it while I had the chance. So I still have to see it. But I have to brace myself because you guys all know how much I love jump scares. And I know that Prometheus is, being in the vein of the Aliens universe, I know it's full of jump scares somewhere along the line. No, don't apologize, man. It's all good. It's all good. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to clean up some of this. All right. Here we go, like that. And be confident about my lines. Be more confident about my lines. There we go. Well, that's a good thing to hear, because that's one of the things that has made me kind of not want to see Prometheus per se, was because the number of jump scares it's a turnoff. I don't really want to mess with that. Now, let's see here. If I go along this line here, we want to put a wing stairwell back this way. So we do this, and we know that this has to be relatively close in, otherwise you're going to end up bonking your head coming up the stairwell up here. So you want an entry point like right here to the stairwell. Right. And that's where that stairwell goes. Oh, well, that actually is pretty good endorsement there, Brent. I mean, I'm kind of annoyed by action-driven movies these days. I'm just getting older, I think. As we get older, when I was a younger lad, movies that had a lot of action were great, but now I'm kind of getting to the point where the action-driven movies are not as entertaining to me anymore. There we go. Okay. Hey, Raph, you're here with 15 minutes to spare. Yeah. I hate to say this, bud, but you're in the same boat as me, my friend. You're in the same boat as me. You just don't know it yet. Okay. Well, it's not like action's bad. Yeah, I mean, and to address what Raph's saying, it's not that I don't like action movies at all. I just felt like I'm getting to the point now where more story-driven movies are fascinating to me. And there will be action. I mean, like in this comic, there's action too. But I'm more fascinated by, in the case of Bellatrix Rising, I'm more interested in moral dilemmas now. I mean, so I mean, it's like the moral dilemmas fascinate me more. So sure, I mean, it's great to have. I mean, this story takes place in a war, so there's going to be action. There's a war going on. It's part of the setup and the rig of this story. There's a war going on here, so I know that there will be action. It's not like the Kittywake's going to just wander around and never shoot anything. But I do think that the Kittiwake needs some kind of, I've been thinking about this, some kind of electromagnetic launcher or something for torpedoes, something that does not have a mass. There's been a lot of things that since I started to write the Bible out, and when I wrote the Bible out, I started to try to like think through all the things. It asked me all these questions. That story prompting thing asked me all of the questions that are just so weird. I was like, I never thought of this stuff, but it made me, yep, she's gonna shoot lots of things. It made me think through a lot of the logic of the science, and I realized they can use these engines as a weapon. I mean, we were talking about shielding yesterday and whether she's got some kind of plasma shield. But the truth is she's deploying a black hole right in front of the ship. That's going to suck anything in. You didn't capitalize Bible, so it's not sacrilegious. There you go. You're funny. You're funny, Raph. So, there's a difference between Bible lowercase and Bible uppercase. Just saying. Just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. Okay, so I'm going to put this over here. And I'll go like that. There we go. From their magical power plant. It's actually a fusion power plant. I mean, fusion will generate enough energy ultimately to do that. It is, after all, what powers stars. So the fusion power plant would ultimately do that. And it's probably some semblance of cold fusion or something that can run it at a lower temperature so it doesn't need fission to start the fusion. Right? David, it's magic. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that'd be a normal defense. So, anybody here familiar with the Honor Harrington series of books by David Weber? They have, in the Honor Harrington books, they've got this drive. See you later, Brent. I'll be in the artist check-in in 10 minutes with Raph there. In the Honor Harrington, if it's magic, okay then. Actually, I was thinking of, and this is, oh man, gotta start with On Basilisk Station. It's the first story for Honor Harrington. It's a great series. David Weber, and it's just a wonderful series. So, anyway, the ships use what they call an impeller drive. It's like a gravity drive, but it makes these walls of gravity, a gravity shear in front of the ship to make the ship move through space. Right? That's what they use to make it go anywhere. That's his drive. But it turns out that missiles can't get through the impeller wedge. So they use it as a shield. And in fact, they generate like weaker impeller drives on the sides of the ship, so they call sidewalls. And the only area that they can't protect is the engine side, the back of the ship. So the tactics of battle in Honor Harrington is what they call the up the kilt shot, where they're trying to shoot through the engine side. And so they're trying to get into this tactical position all the time to be behind the ship and shoot into the engine core, because it hits the core and there's no shielding back there. And I always felt like that's a fascinating, I mean, it was just once you've read enough of these books, then you know right away when one of the, when one of the ships in the series is headed for the back end of a ship. You're like, he's headed for an up the kilt shot. And so I love the idea that there is, a logic to this. And I think the idea is that you could see that there'd be one of these guys up here, maybe one of these two guys. Their whole job is to move the ball around the ship to suck in torpedoes when it's headed their way, or missiles, right? So the ship could be jigging and moving. Jess, I think that this is, I'm sure that you're just having a lot of fun here. Well, and that's exactly what the books read like, David. I feel like that the books certainly were like ocean warfare in space, and it made it so interesting. And so I kind of want to do the same thing with the Kittiwake and with Bellatrix Rising. I want there to be a tactical reason to try to outmaneuver your ships. You've got one ship on one side and the other ship on the other side of this battle, and they're raging this battle in space at high speeds, and and it's all about reaction speed, which is exactly the way I've designed the sail system for this ship. It's all about reaction speed. You've got to, the faster your reaction speed, the better you are in hyperspace. And when you're in hyperspace, then you have to dodge all of the things in hyperspace. And the faster you are at it, the faster you can go. It's kind of like a race car, right? So when you're in a race car, if you've got really good reaction speed, you don't crash the car, and you can go faster. So the skill there is all about the reaction speed. And so I've done the same thing with the sail system of this ship. So the sails, when you're in the sailing mode, you can go faster if your sailmaster has a higher reaction speed, which is who Morel is in this character, or in this story. This would have been Lieutenant Commander Ward from Tamerlane. She's been repurposed now, and now she lives here in this story as the sailmaster. She's a young woman, and she's got very, very fast reflexes. And so she's been assigned to, she picked doing sail work. Keep the sails manipulated properly. The fun part about building my own universe is I can do whatever I want. I'm not limited by Star Trek's limitations or anything like that, which is one of the reasons why I was actually attracted to the idea of leaving. So that's the whole point. Jess, the drive is what they call, science fiction writers call this the donkey and the stick drive, right? So you project the black hole in front of the ship, and then the ship falls towards the black hole. But since the ship is projecting the black hole then moves with the ship. So, so on that's their normal space drive. So when they're in normal space, they project this black hole in front of the ship, and then they drive along. When they go into hyperspace, they transition, turn off the black hole, and then deploy sails to catch the, whatever you want to call it, the magical super space stuff, the winds that are going through space. And the sailmasters then can continue to maneuver the ship. So you've got one person over here who's navigation and normal helm. And that's for projecting what they call throwing the ball. So, it throws the ball ahead of the ship, and the ship falls towards the ball. And so that's kind of where we're going with this. And then once they transition to hyperspace, solar winds, or actually I do think that it's gravity that they're dealing with. So it's like a gravity pull through the universe. Because we know that each star in the galaxy pulls on other stars. So there's got to be, if you think about it, lines of gravity, lines of stress in the galaxy, where things are pulling against one another or pushing against one another. Otherwise, galaxies wouldn't be spiral. They wouldn't be a spiral shape. The spiral shape is because everything is pulling all the stars. All the stars are pulling themselves together. So the sails travel against or with those pulls of gravity. But there are eddies, and there are gravimetric shear and things like that. So once these sails grab that stuff, you've got to be able to navigate the shear and everything like that. So I'm going to switch back to this. So that's where you are. I've got about 3 minutes left before I'm going to get on with Raph, and we're going to do our artist check-in. I've got a couple of you guys who haven't been with me before. We do an artist check-in every week on Friday and set goals for ourselves so that we can keep ourselves on track and sort of hold each other to our respective jobs. And Raphael, who is RM Badhand here, Raphael and I will be doing that today. Usually we have Pepper with us, but Pepper's had a family crisis, so he's not going to be with us this Friday. So anyway, it is now 10:59. At 11 o'clock, I'm just going to kill this stream and then restart this stream and bring in Raph. So you guys can either rejoin me, which is what has to happen, of course, every time I kill a stream and restart a stream. Sadly, you'll have to rejoin. Yes, Jess, that's actually pretty much exactly what's going on, is that the Sailmasters readjust space-time. So David, one of the things that I had decided as a rule in this, okay, I've got 5 more minutes before Raph's ready, so I'll just go over and we'll talk a little bit more about this. One of the things that I've decided as a rule is that the electronics get wonky. The computer has a hard time thinking in this subspace, hyperspace. It can think, but it thinks very, very slow. So you don't want, I'm not talking to you. You don't want to have an augmented brain because that would slow you down. So it has to be the natural brain, because that's, for some reason, of the 5 races that are the primary races of Unity, only 3 of them can actually think well in hyperspace. So you can only have Sailmasters of these 3 races, and so there's it gives a little bit of this is done for dramatic effect. I mean, obviously, if you could just have computers do it, why have humans do it, right? I mean, it's one of those things. So I had to make some kind of concession so that otherwise there's no point. The truth is, a Tesla is getting to the point now where it could race really well by itself, So give 500 years of work on artificial intelligence, and you're going to have something that thinks very fast. So what I've got is silicon-based life forms, including computers, don't think well in hyperspace. So you have to have carbon-based computers, so to speak. So the 3 carbon-based life forms. Alexa's freaking out. The 3 carbon-based life forms are the only ones in the story that can actually be sailmasters. And they have to think quick. So that's sort of where we're headed on this. I'm liking the design that I've come up with for the bridge. It looks really solid. It gives me the ability to visualize the space. And this is a very weird space to have to visualize in. So now when we go back to the Kittiwake, we can now see that there's going to be, let me switch back on the screen. You're going to see that now the bridge is going to sit up here on this top part and down here on the next deck down, right? So, right, it doesn't have to be electronic. But it also means that skill is more important than computation power. So, okay, guys. Appreciate you joining me on this. I know it was kind of a long-winded thing, but the next thing I've got to do now is build this in a 3D asset. So that's going to be kind of complicated and difficult because we have to go into Blender, and Blender and I still don't see eye to eye just yet. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. So I will see all of you guys who want to just join for the drawing things. I'll be here Monday morning at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. No, Jess, you're fine, dude. I actually love the questions you asked were really cool. So I got no problem with it. And actually, you know, you're the only family member I've got visiting me at this point in time. Not pointing fingers at, you know, certain individuals in my family who I'd love to have on here, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm just going to cry a little, but it's all right. No, it's all good. I'm actually really pleased that you were here and chatting with us. So you didn't sound like a novice at all. You're doing good. And like I said, anybody wants to check out Jess's band, Audic Empire, it's a good group. So, okay, I'm going to go on ahead and kill the stream, and then I'll start the stream up again in just a few minutes and invite Raph in and get him started, and then we can do our artist check-in, and that'll work. And I'll be back here again Monday morning at 10 in the morning Mountain Time, so you can join me there, or you can join Raph and I as we talk about the things that we may or may not have accomplished. I hope, Kat, you'll join us, because I know that you've got a couple of things you wanted to do as well, and David has one as well. So hoping to see all of you guys. And, oh, Brent has one as well. So all of you guys were on here. So there you go. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And have a great weekend. And I'll see you later. Bye. It's not showing. Go do the thing. Do the thing. This is like that